Hi, and welcome to this video update. My name is Ina Arneson, and today I'll give you a short introduction to offshore wind. The update will cover the brief history of offshore wind, along with some of the trends in the industry, followed by an overview of the marine operations and vessels involved in offshore wind. Further, I'll cover the basics on the most common foundations used in offshore wind. The video will be concluded by showing the installed offshore wind capacity worldwide, along with some of the targets that have been set. So, to start with some brief history, the first ever offshore wind farm is called Vindeby and was commissioned off the coast of Denmark back in 1991 and decommissioned in 2017. Horns Rev was the first utility-scale wind farm, meaning it was large enough to have significant impact on a power network. This was grid-connected in 2002 and was also off the coast of Denmark. In 2003, MPI Resolution, the first purpose-built wind turbine installation vessel, was built. The vessel is still in operation today, having undergone a crane upgrade in 2011. Full-scale floating wind was not tested until 2009, when Equinor's Hywind went in operation. 2 years later, Principal Power's semi-submersible floating foundation starts generating electricity off the coast of Portugal. 2019 was a record-breaking year in terms of installed offshore wind capacity, with 6.1 gigawatts added globally. China stood for a significant amount of this capacity, with more than 2 gigawatts added. In February 2021, the world's largest offshore wind turbine was announced. This is Vestas' 15-megawatt turbine, which is planned for production in 2024. General Electric and Siemens Gamesa announced their 14-megawatt turbines in 2020. As can be seen on the graph on the top right, the trend in turbine size has shown to be increasing with time. The average size of the installed turbines in 1 year was 3.8 megawatts in 2010 and 6.3 in 2020. We expect that turbine sizes will continue to increase beyond the 15 megawatt turbine already announced. Projects have generally also moved further from shore with time. This is to harvest the higher wind speeds, and associated with this is also deeper water and harsher weather. Moving on to the main marine operations in offshore wind, surveys and assessments are the first of many operations. This includes environmental surveys, metocean assessments, and geological and hydrological surveys. These operations are done with survey vessels or multi-purpose vessels. The fully assembled offshore wind structure consists of several components, often provided by different suppliers. All components need to be transported to the site of assembly, which can be either at the quayside or at the wind farm site. Heavy load deck carriers are used for this, and specialized vessels have been built for the nacelle transport. Although not a mature market yet, floating foundations have been transported from the yard on semi-submersible heavy lift vessels and floated off on the assembly site. Foundation installation is done either by a floating heavy lift vessel or by a jackup installation vessel. Foundations can weigh over 2,000 tons, so high crane capacity is necessary. For floating wind, foundation installation is not needed, as it is usually towed to site after being fully assembled with the wind turbine at quayside. The foundation is then moored to the seabed. The offshore substation is the system which collects and exports the power generated by the turbines. This is installed using heavy lift vessels, and the topside has also been installed on its foundation by a float-over operation using a semi-submersible vessel. Array cables are the cables between the wind turbines, and the export cable is the cable connecting the offshore and onshore substations. They're all installed using cable-laying vessels. For bottom-fixed offshore wind, the tower, nacelle, and blades are then installed on the foundation using a jackup installation vessel. When installation is complete, we enter the phase of commissioning and operations. The three main vessel types used are then commissioning service operation vessels, and crew transfer vessels. As mentioned, offshore wind turbines can be either bottom-fixed or floating. Bottom-fixed has the majority of the market share, and most floating wind projects are currently demonstration projects. The monopile has been the most used foundation, with 67% of all commissioned offshore wind installations. The jacket has generally been used in deeper waters than the monopile, but the monopile has proven to be able to go into deeper waters than initially thought. The gravity-based foundation is a concrete structure which is ballasted. It has not been used in very deep water, but an advantage is that cranes may not be needed for installation. In terms of floating offshore wind, the three most popular foundation types are the semi-submersible, the spar, and the tension leg platform. The only fully commissioned offshore wind farms, Hywind Scotland and Windfloat Atlantic, utilize the spar and semi-submersible foundations respectively. Floating wind is expected to increase its market share in coming years, and DNVGL estimate that 20% will be floating by 2050. There are 2 floating wind farms currently under construction and 5 fully commissioned wind farms, when not counting demonstration projects. Considering installed offshore wind capacity as well as capacity currently under construction, China and UK are by far the leading countries, with around 25 and 14 gigawatts respectively. China is growing very fast, and out of their 25 gigawatts, the majority is under construction and not yet fully commissioned. Europe's market is more mature than in Asia, and since the first wind farm in 1991, most developments have been in Europe, with UK, Germany, and Denmark leading the way. Significant increase is expected in the United States, where only 42 megawatts of offshore wind is commissioned. The large projects in the United States are in early phases, but there are numerous large projects which will contribute to their fast growth. There is still a long way to go to reach ambitious goals set for offshore wind. Ocean Renewable Energy Action Coalition has a vision of 1.4 terawatts of offshore wind energy by 2050 globally. This will account for 10% of the world's electricity demand. Currently, 32 gigawatts of offshore wind is fully commissioned. The European Commission presented the EU Offshore Renewable Energy Strategy in November 2020, revealing a target of 300 gigawatts of installed offshore wind by 2050. The current project pipeline adds up to 550 gigawatts of offshore wind, meaning there's a long way to go to reach the Ocean Renewable Energy Action Coalition's vision. So, to conclude, marine operations in offshore wind involve a wide range of vessels, some of which are specialized for the industry. The monopile is the most widely used wind turbine foundation, but floating foundations are expected to increase their market share going forward. The UK and China are the largest countries in terms of installed and under construction offshore wind capacity, and ambitious targets are set for offshore wind for 2050, so significant growth can be expected. Thank you for listening. I hope the video gave you some insight into the interesting developments in the offshore wind industry.